Small business war stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. Hey, lovers of small business and good stories in general. Welcome to episode 77 of Small Business War Stories. Today, I stopped in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I sat down with Chaz Marsh of Jackson Stillworks. And they have a really cool story where they started distilling spirits high up in the mountains. They're making some really cool vodka and gin, and we get into a few of the cool things that they're doing. And I don't want to steal Chaz's thunder, but they're doing some really, really cool things. And I tried some of them. They're delicious. You should definitely check out all the stories and listen to the story of how they started a distillery high up in the mountains. This episode is a part of the Soul of America tour, which is a tour that I did with my dog Muddy Waggers and my guitar. And I went all over the United States. And it is brought to you as such by FreshBooks. FreshBooks is a sponsor of the Soul of America tour. And FreshBooks is small business bookkeeping and accounting software. And it basically enables you to run your business and focus on the things you have to do and not have to worry about running all of your books and making sure your invoicing is on point and all the things that have to happen in the background for you to be able to execute on what you do best. So especially come tax season, you can have everything, all your information there, so you don't have to go back and dig through all of your past invoices and things like that. It saves you a ton of time, so check it out and go to freshbooks.com/war stories and tell them you found them on Small Business War Stories. The episode, like every episode of Small Business War Stories, is also brought to you by Proven. Proven.com. That is a company I started, and we help small businesses hire, but we also help small businesses run every area of their business better. So go to Proven.com if you need to hire. And if you want to learn about more resources to help you run your business better, go check out blog.proven.com. We publish lots of different cool articles that help you with, decide what type of technology to use. And also that is where all of our Small Business War Stories episodes live. You can go back and listen to all 77. Actually, it's more than that. It's like close to 100 now because we've also done a whole bunch of flash episodes. So yeah, we've been doing this for a while now, since the beginning of 2017. Yes, January 2017. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Number 77 with Chaz Marsh of Jackson Stillworks in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we are live here in beautiful Jackson, Wyoming, with a view of the mountains here. And I am the honor today of sitting here with Chaz Marsh, who is the co-founder of Jackson Hole Stillworks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming in. Cheers.
Yeah, we're drinking some delicious beer. You brewed this beer, right?
Sure did. Travis and I and a good buddy of ours went after this. It's like an old Irish whiskey stout that we barrel aged in a used whiskey barrel for about 9 months.
That's amazing. And you also gave me a taste here of your gin that you're currently aging in whiskey barrels, right?
That is true. Yes.
And that's not yet out in the market?
Not yet out in the market.
When is it supposed to be out?
When it's ready.
Got it. So sorry.
We got to wait for it to tell us. I mean, that's kind of our nature around here, but we put that into put our gin. Actually a different style of gin for us, into whiskey barrels about 3 months ago. So it'll take, probably the better part of about 5 to 8 months, we're guessing, from R&D and some smaller barrels that we did. Okay. That seemed to be about the timeline.
Awesome. And you guys are currently you're a distiller that produces both vodka and gin, correct?
Vodka and gin.
Do you have, do you have more than one style of vodka or gin, or just one vodka, one gin?
Just one vodka, one gin.
Cool.
We're going to be working on some bourbon, single malt, an American style whiskey, and also a rye going forward. So
wow.
We've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Those are tougher because they take longer to age, right?
They do.
So I stopped in Kentucky in the last tour and talked to some folks there, and it takes a while to get those batches going.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And of course, the demand going downstream, of course you want to make a good product and hopefully your product comes out great. But if it does come out great and you only have 20 barrels when you started making it and you're trying, and their demand is somewhere for like 150 or 200 barrels, it changes sort of the outlook. So there's a lot of faith and a lot of risk capital that goes into the brown water
Yeah.
efforts. So if you get down there and it's all crap, then you got to go back to the
Well,
drawing boards.
you guys are doing a hell of a job with your vodka and your gin, right? You guys,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk a little bit about the success you guys have had, locally and regionally and nationally with your product. But tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to start this. We talked about quite a few things. You were showing me, around your facility here. It's an awesome facility in Jackson, where you're actually showing me your process. But you used to be into fly fishing, and then you left that world to enter this world. What was that like? And you and your partner Travis started this. What inspired you to start that?
So yes, that's true. So I was a fly fishing guide, saltwater and freshwater for 9 years. My home base was here in Jackson. I spent the better part of 7 winters down in New Orleans. When Katrina hit, I went to the Seychelles. I also spent a winter in my very early years as a guide in Argentina.
Okay.
At a estancia down there. So that is not an easy lifestyle. I was doing about 220 to about 260 days a year on the water.
Yeah.
It's taxing, and it's not a life it's a life I love and certainly enjoyed, but it wasn't something I wanted to do long term. So I went ahead and applied to business school and got into a school down in Denver, University of Denver, Daniels, and went to business school, and that was in the fall of '08.
Okay. Actually, I started business school at Fallaway too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Where'd you go?
Stanford.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
It's a good school. Yeah.
Man,
Yes.
it's all about what you do afterwards and what you create with it, So you're kicking ass here.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, but it's kind of, that's very true. I mean, what you take from the courses that you take in school, and I was actually very proactive in the management side and
Yep.
more management consulting side of things. So challenges and puzzles and things like that were something that I really enjoyed. Case studies in school were things that I just ate up and enjoyed, just kind of working on solving issues and problems, and we do a lot of that here.
Cool.
Travis's background, and like I said, he should be here soon, but Travis's background was really in wine, and he actually managed Bin 22 here in Jackson for
I saw it.
many years.
Yep.
Phenomenal restaurant, and those guys are amazing. Fine dining restaurant group owns that, but he was also building custom wine cellars. So to say that Travis has a good nose is an understatement. He should have studied for his sommelier certification, but he hasn't. But that was something that we both saw from our standpoint as kind of starting our own businesses and running our own businesses and having that background and developing a market and working with customers. For us, that played perfectly into working together on something. So we always knew that we wanted to do something together, and it was business school. And my weekends were spent with a buddy of mine down, Tom Grady, I'll mention, but he's a buddy of mine down in Denver, and he kind of took me under his wing. He'd been brewing his whole life with his brothers, and he taught me how to brew beer.
Cool.
And that was something that I translated to Travis and said, man, you got to come down here on a couple weekends during the winter and come brew beer with us. And so we did. We got into it. We got our hands dirty.
Yep.
We were playing with grain and yeast and all these other fun things, and we were doing it in a very scientific manner. And it sort of naturally progressed to us wanting to start a brewery, which is really what Jackson Hole Stillworks originally was. And I built the business model through courses, using it as a case study for a lot of my classes. I mean, I couldn't use them from all of them, but statistics and accounting and things like that. That was what I really entered in as my case or something that was an example I could use. So I built this business model, and we both knew that it was working well, and we loved the idea behind it. So I graduated in 2010, and I worked for a company up in Greeley, and I also did a fundraising for a small equity group, private equity group. And during that time, I realized I just had to get back to Jackson, and that the brewery was something that we were going to try and make happen in order for me to get back here to Jackson so I could hang out with my best bud Travis and go fishing and hunting.
Yeah.
Subsequently, we don't do any of that
You
anymore
don't
because
fish
we
anymore? You're too busy here?
too busy here working at the shop. So it's been it's been kind of an adventure in that sense too. But when we were going to launch it and when we were going to start the brewery, an amazing group, actually Fine Dining's had some guys that were starting a small brewery at Roadhouse, at the Q restaurant called Roadhouse Brewery, which is now a much larger facility off of Gregory
I'm
Lane.
staying right there. A couple blocks from there. Yeah.
Those guys are amazing. You got to go into their tasting room. They've got such a great little bar in there. And take a tour of their facility.
Cool.
Good people. So they were launching and doing very much the design initially that we were considering doing. So it was sort of like, damn it, like what do we do? And Travi offhandedly mentioned, hey, maybe a distillery is what the Valley needs. And I was like, there's like a 10-second pause on the phone, and it's like, all right, we'll do it. That sounds great because I think what was processing in our heads was that if you don't understand grain and cooking and fermentations and what you're trying to do on the grain side, you're not going to produce a great product on the distillation side because it really kind of magnifies your faults and your errors or your positives and the good things you're doing. So we felt very confident in that, and we sort of redesigned the business model with certainly a large uptick in working capital, and that was what kind of
over a phone call you guys went from brewery to distillery.
That's right.
Right. Because Snake River is already here, right?
Snake River Brewery is here. Yep. Melvin actually is now primarily based down in Alpine, but their startup was like a closet in the back of Teton Time Me Up, which is right there on King Street on Pearl Street in town. So Time Me Up had this little brewery. They exploded. Roadhouse also doing the same thing.
So you felt the market was too saturated for that?
Yeah, and then exactly.
Okay.
I mean, for us, it was like Grand Teton Brewery is on the other side, and they're doing amazing beers too. So there were 4 big breweries in town.
For a town of 10,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do have a lot of tourists, but did we want to get in there and start slugging it out with
Were there any distillers in town?
No.
Are there
We're
any
the very
now?
first. We're the first ones.
So no subsequent ones either?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that we know of.
Okay.
Not yet.
Got it.
We would know.
So how long was it between that phone call and the time you opened this facility? Because this is a lot of square. What is this, like probably 3,000 square feet or something like that?
Exactly. The working space that we have in here is roughly about 3,000 square feet, and then our tasting room and our lab area, consumes about 800 square feet. So, give or take. But it's not a lot of space in the grand scheme of things, but for what we need and what we're doing right now, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it gives us a little bit of room to grow. But
how many cases are you pumping out right
now? Per year.
Yeah.
We're doing probably close to about 2,000, 2,500 cases a year.
Okay, and each case is 12 bottles?
Is 6 bottles.
6 bottles.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It would be, I was kind of reverting it back to 12 bottle cases.
Oh, okay.
So we'd probably do about 4,000 plus 6 bottle cases.
Okay.
Yep.
So about 25,000 bottles roughly.
Yeah, 20 to 25,000 bottles is what we did this year.
Cool.
Yep, that's exactly
It's
right.
a lot of bottles.
It's a lot of bottles, especially for a couple of little guys who are only about 2 years old.
Split 50-50 into vodka and gin?
No, it isn't. Actually, we had 1 month where our gin did get pretty close to the sales of our vodka, and that's a compliment, I think, to gin. Gin generally in Wyoming doesn't do very well, and we are very proud of the fact that it did very well here. So
because people drink a lot of vodka, soda, and this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a whiskey state. Funny enough, it's actually a Canadian whiskey state, but we've got some amazing whiskey distillers in Wyoming, 2 of them in particular, and Wyoming Whiskey and Single Track based up in Cody. But the state generally drinks a lot of Crown Royal and Black Velvet.
And you're about to enter that market, you said.
Trying to train them as well.
Sounds good, man. So let's talk about how the ingredients, and like you talked to me a little bit about this when you were showing me your plant, but how do the ingredients affect the final product? And you were very proud of the fact that you use 100% Wyoming ingredients, correct?
Yes.
Cool.
We do. Oh man, that's such a that's kind of a loaded question. The grain. I mean, when you're talking about your base grains, every distiller, every brewer. I mean, first thing you do is you want to open that bag, and you want to get a handful of it and bite into a few of the pieces of grain and taste the flavor and learn what the starch content is. For us, very much so with corn. We're looking for a lot of starch, a lot of white inside of that kernel. The guy who actually farms all of our grain does GMO, is all GMO certified or GMO free certified, and it is a distiller style grain. So It's not like sweet corn that you want to be serving up at a barbecue and 4th of July. It's more intended for producing a lot of sugar when you actually add the enzymes. So for us, we know our farmer very well. We visit him 3 or 4 times during the summer and fall. We'll see him this year during harvest, go ride around on his combine and do whatever. It'll just be fun to be out there. But
cool.
For us, that means a lot, and he cares about what he's farming, as all farmers do, but he very much cares about producing a great quality grain for distillers and brewers.
Is he in Jackson? No, where is he?
No, he's actually in the Bighorn Basin, just east of Powell, in a little town called Byron.
Is that going to scale as you continue to grow? Does he have the capacity to continue to? Okay.
He's got a lot of acreage. And, truth be told, for us as a small craft distillery, I mean, if we're using up 10 acres of his corn, we'll be pretty big.
Got it.
I think at this point we're probably using like a half or a quarter
so
acre of his corn. I don't
that
know.
would be both a high quality problem and a manageable problem.
Yes, exactly.
Got
it. Good problem to have.
Love it.
So that's the one side. Then we actually get our oats, our products are 95% corn and 5% oats. And our oats come from a small company based out of Powell. And there's a really neat story behind it because the son, Forrest Smith, Seaton is his dad, and I can't remember his mom's name. I hope that's not Aaron, but the Smiths are wonderful people, and I haven't met his mom actually, but I have met Seaton, and Forrest is certainly a great kid. Great man, actually. He's like 28. So anyways, when he was in high school, he got a $250 FFA grant from the state to do a project on the benefits of a gluten-free diet. He's a celiac, so he was in high school, and he was doing this report, and he was milling out oats and working on whatever he was doing, and did the report, and his family recognized that there was a demand in the market that they could fulfill. I mean, they knew that they could grow oats in the area, and so they started developing a little company called GF Harvest, gluten-free harvest. And it is now like this mini empire. They do some of the most amazing candied oats and instant oats and rolled oats and whole grain oats, and they do the whole gamut. And they're exporting, overseas, and they're all over the country. And it's just a really neat story that the parents recognized that there was an opportunity there, and Forrest sort of,
So your mash is in 95% corn and 5% oats.
5% oats.
And so, what does that 5% oats do for it?
So much like when you are drinking a kind of an oatmeal-based or an oat-based beer, you get that nice, smooth characteristic, a little bit of a sort of a sweetness to it. And for us, that was something that was always very intriguing. And actually, the beer we're drinking now actually has a little bit of oats in it, which is really cool. And so when we went after oats, I think as a test, we did I don't know how many different grain, just sort of grain bills for our R&D, but one of the primaries that kept coming through was oats. So oats became sort of a part of it. We did a full oat batch of, oat batch fermentations and distilled those out. It was not great.
Not great. Okay.
I mean, it was very strong and very powerful, and I think it would have been a hard thing to control overall. But we knew that the oats actually in small increments was going to be something very beneficial and complementary of the corn side.
Got it.
We scaled it back from 15% to 10% to 8% to 5%. And actually the 8 to 5% was a changeover from our small batches to production size batches. And so, when we got in here, we were doing 8%, and it was still coming out with a much more a stronger grain profile than we really cared to have. So we scaled it back to 5%.
Cool.
Yep.
So I know that being, whoa, there we go. We got
Travis.
Hey, Travis.
How you doing?
All right.
How are you, buddy?
How are you, man?
Good.
So we have the other founder, Travis, just walked in here.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, how's it going? If you want to go, hop over that side,
Bit
we've got a
brag on him.
conversation.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Welcome to the show. This
Hey,
is,
thank you.
You've already been spoken about as somebody with a great palate
Oh,
and,
cool.
and a great nose. So let's talk about community a little bit. I mean, so a big part of why we do this with Small Business War Stories is talk about like how you get involved with the community. So you guys reach out to a lot of folks about, and one example is your label art competition. So talk to me about that. How did that get started? What is it, and what has it meant for you as a company?
I am not talking.
Go,
baby.
Yeah, well, I mean, the story of how it all came about is really interesting and extremely community oriented. We were messing around. We didn't even have a product yet. We just had a name and an idea and trying to figure out our labeling and bottling and all this great stuff. And Chaz contacted a big member of the Art Association of Jackson Hole back then, which her name is Allison Brush. And about getting in contact with an artist that may be interested in kind of helping us out with a label. This was after we'd already actually checked in with some more established artists throughout the region, and just getting doors slammed in our faces, and we're like, well, I don't blame them. I mean, we didn't we were a startup. We had nothing to show.
We didn't even have a product.
No, we really didn't. All we had was an idea.
Yeah.
So she kind of hooked us up with this gal, Katie Ann Fox, who now is pretty well known around the community and really the greater art scene throughout the Mountain West and beyond. And this wonderful chick just like jumped on board with us for some reason, saw something that we liked and she liked, and just hopped on with us and was like, yeah, I'll paint you something cool. And we're like, really? Okay, awesome.
It was.
And that was, our original label.
Which can I see it? So which one is it?
Yeah. So you can see that.
So just so our listeners can see, so the label in your product is really unique because it's not in the front. You have a small label in the front, but really the art is in the back of the bottle, right? It's visible through the product.
Right. So you have to look through the spirit in order to see the artistic image that's
very cool.
Essentially on the sticky side of the back label, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it magnifies differently with vodka than water, because we did a lot of test runs with that. So you really get to see all the nuances and the brush strokes and, with the shape of the bottle and the way that the label's on there.
So you have a jackalope, I see a jackalope, I see an owl.
It's very interactive. This is our new label.
Okay.
And so Katie Ann started essentially what was to be a contest that we didn't even realize we were getting into, but we commissioned her to do the piece. She did this beautiful work of art, and we decided that the best thing to do was to raffle it off and give the proceeds back to the Art Association of Jackson Hole. And it raised about $9,500. And we were like, wow, that was
we should do
brilliant.
more of that.
Yeah.
Let's do some more. Yeah.
So that's kind of how that then what is now an artist competition for an annual label.
So every year you hold it?
Exactly. Yeah. So every spring we announce that, okay, here it is. We're starting it up, and the first year we did it, which would have been through the spring of 2016. We had how many, Chaz? Was it like 20?
It was 33.
33 artists that entered from throughout the whole state. We really try to involve the entire state of Wyoming, and we also include Teton Valley, Idaho, just because that's a great bedroom community to us here in Jackson. And so we got 33 entries, and then Chaz and I whittled it down to, Chaz and I and a couple of professional artists and professional curators, because we're stupid. We make booze, we don't make art. Well, we make liquid art. But the six of us kind of whittled that down to a final 8, and then we have a big party in here, and we invite all the public to come in, and the public actually chooses that final piece of artwork. And yeah, it's just
so you have a party here.
Yeah, so we have a party here. Everybody kind of pays a fee to come in, and those proceeds again help boost.
When is that party?
That party is usually mid to end of June.
Mid to end of June. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll air this episode before that so people can come.
Nice,
Yeah.
awesome, sounds good.
Definitely.
Yeah, but that's just. I mean, through that was the first big party thing. I mean, like Chaz mentioned, like we ended up raising a ton of money and pulled in a lot of cash for the Art Association Jackson Hole. It's just really cool because incredible. There's just an unbelievable art community here in Jackson, Wyoming.
Cool.
And it's just one of the
So
most
you guys
amazing places.
engage a lot of local artists into that, and what do you guys do with the other? Because I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other good designs. Do you publish them elsewhere and on your website or a book or anything like that?
We do. Yeah, we put it. Anybody that enters competition, their entry piece is on the website. The final 8 are kind of separated into another tier, and then the winner is at the top of that page on the website. But certainly recognizing that Wyoming has, and of course Teton Valley, Idaho, but that we have some amazing artists in our state, and that we're here to support them. And this is just kind of one touch point with our community, but everything we do, we recognize that the value of being integrated into the community and doing what we can. I mean, the label art competition's one aspect of it. We work with a local farmer here. Our spent grains go to him. Obviously, sourcing grains from our guys in Powell and Byron. I mean, any of that kind of work that we can do, and I don't know how many charity events we've been involved in.
All of them.
Yeah, it's pretty much all of them. But we do that very consistently, and lately we've been hearing from people like, "Man, you guys are everywhere," and that means a lot to us because we believe that the foundation of a good business starts with the community support. It's sort of the grooming your backyard mindset, and if we don't do that, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot, and we certainly don't like that idea.
Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome. So when you first, distilled your first batch of gin, how did you get into stores? Because you guys, we got introduced by our mutual friend Travis, and Travis was singing your praises as to how you guys had done very well and had outsold some famous gins in the state of Wyoming. What's been that process of getting the name out there, other than the things you're doing with the community, to make sure that you're getting the eyes to get the orders?
Well, the biggest thing is face-to-face shaking hands. Chaz and I have been very adamant about getting ourselves in front of at least the owners and managers of all of our outlets, be it a bar, restaurant, or liquor store, at least that, but also just getting in front of our end consumer as well. We tasked ourselves right away as soon as our product was out with just traveling this big state and really trying to shake the hand of every single liquor licensee in the entire state of Wyoming. And Wyoming, a population of only 500,000 people, but man, we got a huge state, so it's basically like one
and
small
a whole bunch
city.
of mountains to go over.
Yeah, exactly. So we spent a lot of time in the car. But yeah, I mean,
I hear you.
Yeah.
I would imagine you know
You're on a
exactly what we're
4,000
talking
mile
about.
trip, right.
Yeah. So I mean, the saying around Wyoming is that Wyoming is a small city with really, really long roads, which
Yep.
is exactly what it is. Because we could drive from here for 7 hours and get to Cheyenne and meet somebody who's got a personal connection with this, that, and the other person. And
Or
it's just
and
like, yeah.
Cody, and Cody's on the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's really like how we've really been able to really gain some great ground with our customer base in Wyoming is
Cool.
direct personal contact
Okay.
and really taking the time to get out and
Do you guys use social media to leverage that into amplifying your message, so like Instagram and Facebook and things like that, or no?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Okay.
at this day and age, and the startup business is certainly, in the spirits and brewing world, it's a necessity. You
Yeah.
have to.
What's your strategy for that? What do you guys do? I mean, you guys have a really authentic, honest message, and having that really matters in the sense of community. Maybe for other small business owners, from a tactical perspective, how often do you guys post? Who chooses what to post? What do you do?
Have fun, entertain your audience, entertain the people that are buying your product. I mean, I'll reinforce those aspects of the sense of community and the things that we're connected to, certainly. But in and amongst all that, I mean, people want to enjoy what the growth and development of our little business, and so when we go out to do any kind of a shoot or do any sort of a video for fun, we have a good time with it, and we want people to come back and and look at Facebook and say, oh my gosh, these guys are great, and they have a good time, and they're not too serious about what they do. I mean, we're very serious about making the product, but we're not too serious about ourselves. Yeah. And we have an ego-free policy in here. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really the one thing that we would stress to people is to, rarely are you reinventing the wheel. I mean, I don't think hardly ever, but be humble and be appreciative of the people that support you and have a good time doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sustainability. I know that's important to you guys. So what does that mean to you to be a sustainable business, and how do you bring that to practice?
I mean, a big part of that is, contributing back to your community and your surrounding support network. If you don't have, if the way we feel about it is if we don't have the best support that we can get from, our customers or just the community as a whole, then we're going to fail. So that's obviously, if you don't have that backing, then you're not a sustainable business, right? And so it's very multifaceted. It's your relationships with the individuals. It's your relationship with the environment. It's how we, basically operate almost a zero waste distillation facility, which is, a feat of its own.
Sure.
And, just get, like I said, just those relationships, whether it be physical with your community, with your environment, or more of like a interpersonal relationship, that's...
So in 30 seconds, soup to nuts, from the moment that the grain comes in here, the water comes in here, what happens to the byproducts from that, and how do you guys do that?
So basically real quick, 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
27. All right, we get our grain in from, our local farmers, grind it, we cook it all day, then we ferment it, and then we take the beer out of that and distill it. We send the spent grains out to a pig farm where they get all the great proteins. Our distillation and a little bit of alcohol, lucky pigs.
Yeah.
And then we distill that out and we blend it with our amazing mountain, granite filtered water here, and we put it into a bottle and get it out the door into some cocktails.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think
who makes your bottle?
38 seconds.
I love it. And who makes your bottles? Your bottles come from somewhere else, I presume?
Yeah, they come from...
It's a beautiful bottle. It's very... I love the stylistic. It's very simple lines, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a fairly standard mold. It's called the Jersey bottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of craft distillers will know that, and a lot of people have looked at them, and we have seen quite a few of them in the market.
Do other people do this whole label through thing, or is that you?
I mean, there's a small handful that kind of utilize part of the back of the label as something to project through, but I don't think...
But here it's like the centerpiece. I mean,
it
is.
Well, because the artists are the focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So their work of art is shining through our art, and it just kind of has a fun overall play to it.
Cool. Let's talk about community a little bit more before we move into the kind of the lessons part. But why Jackson Hole, and what brought you here? Why is it important for you to have a business here, not go to like a big city and say like Seattle, Philadelphia, New York, somewhere like that? I mean, your family's from Dallas originally. Where are you from originally?
Philadelphia.
There you go. Nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big part of it, and the driving force is that Chaz and I lived here for, we didn't move here to do this. We moved here to experience what this amazing place has to offer. What the outdoors has to offer, and the community and the people, the great folks that congregate here in Jackson Hole. So it wasn't so much a question of where can we operate a distillery and be successful. It was more of a question of how can we build a successful distillery here in Jackson Hole and support our community, and in turn obviously support ourselves, because we are, it's how can we make it in this community and make it a vibrant, exciting business.
That's awesome. I interviewed the folks across the street at the Bird earlier.
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, they're great.
Will and Ted.
They also really care about the community in Jackson here.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we love those guys.
Yeah, they sell your product.
Yeah, they're incredibly supportive of us too, and
awesome. Mm-hmm. So, what's the number one lesson that if somebody's considering starting a business or doing their own thing, and they're maybe hesitant, and what is the number one lesson you think you've learned that you can share?
So I kind of knew this was going to coming. A lot of people ask this question. So I would say...
Way to make me feel not
I
unique.
know,
Jesus.
you are unique. No, but it's a great question, and it's actually another way to give back to the community. I guess. But no, we're very humble guys, and I kind of said that before. I think you have to believe in what you do, be very proud of what you do, and push forward with some good faith. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved in starting your own business, and there are times when things can get frustrating, or you can have hoses jump out and spray corn all over you and look like it just got in a fight with with like a big corn beast or something. But anyways, when you come back to the real foundation of the business, it is about working hard, being humble, and definitely being appreciative of the people that put their necks out there for you to support you and to push your products. One of the things we've been talking about lately is, a lot of the events that we're involved in, the ones that we love the most are the people who actually not only, enjoy our products or enjoy our, donations at the actual event, but then follow up and say, you know what, I want their products at another event, and I want them at our next event. And that actually resonates well with us, and it certainly makes us want to get.
You guys have a
more.
good story, a good product, a good brand. I mean, it's a great, logo and a great name, so that probably helps too, right? And like making it memorable.
I think so. I think our, like I was saying about just any kind of event that we're involved in, or whether it's Facebook or Instagram, or people coming in to just stop by and say hello or do a radio interview with us.
Yeah.
We want them to come in here and have a good time, and that's really our focus. I mean,
That's awesome.
We have a good time doing it, and
it looks like you do.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about a time when things went really wrong, and then what you do about it?
Well, the best thing we ever did, as far as the worst best thing we ever did, was we tried to have a nice time in here and blow off some steam. And we were cleaning our. This is so embarrassing. It cost us a lot of money. And it's really not that bad when you look back on it. But we were brand new. We were nascent business, and we had only been really up and running for it was only a few months, I think, right? Yeah. And we were like, let's tear apart we made a mess of the still, and we're like, we'll tear it apart, and we'll fix it.
Really
clean it up good, and kind of start anew. And we'd had frustrating several days because it's a startup, and you always have that, and you just have to fight through it. And so we took our beautiful glass distillation column, spread it out on the floor, and kind of just we're cleaning it. And Chaz is upstairs, and he's tossing me some tops or something like that, something from.
They were stacked in a pyramid, weren't they? Because they were drying.
Yeah, because they were drying. Yes. And he's throwing it to me. I'm like, all right, I'm catching them. Yeah, catching them. I got this one. I just
kind of like Tom Cruise and Cocktail.
Oh, yeah, total Tom Cruise cocktail program. Yeah. And Chaz just keeps kind of pushing me back, throwing them to me. And I walk right into the dang glass tower pile and knock them all over the floor, shatter them all. And that was thousands of dollars of distillation equipment just toast.
I'm looking at it right here to my right. It doesn't look cheap.
Yeah, and it happened, and we just look at each other, and we're like, just shrugged our shoulders. We're like, okay, let's. I guess we got to get on the phone with the still manufacturer and get some more. Can't really take any time and get all pissed off about it because it's what's done is done.
Got to sell more bottles now.
We could not get mad.
Yeah,
we weren't even.
Getting mad would have done nothing good for the situation,
Yeah, it's kind of like traffic. Most people should be able to wear in traffic. It's like, fuck it,
it's just what it
you're
is.
stuck
man,
there.
So, but
overcoming hurdles with grace, I guess, is kind of.
Was that the story that you had, or do you have a different one?
It's similar that we had a pressure valve that didn't release properly on our mash tun, and we had a power outage, and then when it snapped back on, there was part of a temperature sensor that didn't engage properly, and so we built up steam inside the system, and then that's always a dangerous thing, and the pressure valve didn't go until it was pretty much too late. Anyways, the point is we came in the morning, and there was, of course, a lot of malfunctioning stuff and put us out for about 3 weeks.
Oh no, was there a big mess
right in the middle of this in the summer? Yeah, I mean the place was we were pretty well full of steam and had some friends.
That's
from
like
the
your
fire
worst
department
nightmare.
visit.
That's a nightmare you have 15 years from
yeah.
now, and you wake up and you're like, it's kind of like when turning in your homework in college, like your paper, and you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was not as lighthearted as our throwing bottle caps and breaking like $3,000 worth of glass. But this actually took out our mash tun and took it out for about 3 weeks, and we could repair it. And in that time, we really just had to, recognize that we'd set ourselves up for a very busy summer. We were very fortunate that we did. We did a lot of hard work up front, and when it came around to where we lost the mash tun for 3 weeks, we knew that we were okay. But still in that, I think there was a sense of calm, just like what Travis was talking about. I think you can't really let yourself, you can't get too far ahead of yourself, and you certainly getting pissed off or, yelling or getting angry about anything really is just not very valuable. So in those situations, you just kind of have to say, all right, well, shit happens, and let's. I don't know if we can say.
Yeah, you can say. I'll just label the episode as explicit. It'll be banned in India because of that. But,
Anyways, but yeah, it does happen, and when it does, you gotta just carry yourself through it with some grace and hope that you've worked hard on the front end to prepare yourself for those kind of stuff. Situations.
This is awesome, guys. Where can people find you? Is there anything else you want people to know about your business? What's your address here? Your social media tags? How do you want the public to find you?
Yeah, but people can definitely track us down on Facebook and Instagram with our hashtag JHStillworks. Or just follow us at JHStillworks. And yeah, if you're in Jackson, definitely come by for a visit.
They have some awesome copper mugs.
Yeah, we got all kinds of great stuff.
And like a lot of bottles.
We're gonna send you home with a couple of those.
Check out our website for updates and news stories and products that we're working on.
Yeah.
And social media tags are all on there too. And biggest thing is don't miss the opportunity to come visit us here if you're in Jackson Hole.
Yep. Come to Jackson Hole, have a drink.
Yeah.
And hopefully.
Yeah. Did you already say 3940?
No, I didn't say where we were. Yeah.
3940 South Eagle View Drive, Jackson, Wyoming.
2 miles south of Jackson Hole.
And then at some point, you guys are going to release your much anticipated whiskey barrel aged with gin.
What'd you think of that?
It was really good. I still have a little bit of here. I'll have a little sip for now.
We're excited about that.
Kind of tastes like Christmas.
Yeah.
That's when it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Probably near Christmas or maybe a little after. But
Boom. There you go. It's all a secret.
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Travis.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and wish you continued success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Small Business War Stories. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or on our blog at blog.proven.com. If you have an idea for us, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at podcast@proven.com. See you next time. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.